Should you be concerned with piracy? Piracy is a big problem, man. I read a report recently that 93% of some online games are pirates. That's insane. That's an insane number. I don't know the validity of that number. I don't know how they would tell that. But either way, even if it's true or not, piracy is a big problem, right? People steal games. I think we've all been guilty, one way or another. If we've all pirated something in our life. If you're going to tell me you have never downloaded an MP3 or something, I think you'd be lying. I think we've all done it in some form or faction, even if we just emailed our friend a PDF or whatever. We've all done this one way or another. So in games, how do you is piracy even a problem? First of all, does it actually take from your bottom line? The movie industry has waged war on pirates because, according to their claim, based on the people that pirate movies, they're losing billions of dollars. But one of the assumptions that they're making in that is that by someone pirating a movie, that they are losing the ticket sale for that movie, which that's debatable, right? So there's two schools of thought in this. One is, yes, the person that's pirating the game or the movie, they are not going to buy your game or movie now. So you've lost that money. But the other school of thought is, no, these people that pirate these games were never going to buy them anyway. These people that pirate movies were never going to buy movies anyway. And it's sort of this age-old thing of like which one is correct, right? I happen to believe that the majority of pirates are not legitimate customers. I think a lot of people that pirate games are just they're pirators. They don't actually buy games all that much. And I know a lot of these types of people that just they pirate stuff. They'll download their music, they'll download their movies, whatever, but they would never go and pay for the stuff. So my personal opinion on piracy is not that you're actually losing sales. And I want you to think about this. Like, sometimes you're not actually losing sales by people pirating your game. Sometimes it can be a form of promotion. Sometimes you can make a game that gets passed around for free and it encourages people to buy the game. Of course, I consider myself an optimist, so of course I would have a positive view on it because that tends to be my calling card. But I just want you to think about that in a sense. Think about piracy in a form of maybe a positive thing, for one. But then two, let's say, okay, you've waged war on piracy. How do you actually prevent piracy? Well, there are a couple ways to prevent piracy. The famous one is DRM. DRM stands for Digital Rights Management, and it is a form of software protection that you can put into your game to stop illegitimate copies from working. And so a lot of companies have things like key codes, right? Like you have to, or serial keys. You have to have the serial key to license the copy of the game, to play the game. A lot of games have very restrictive DRM. Some of them are like online only, where you have to be online, constantly contacting the server to play the game, which that's its own little caveat, right? Like, what ends up happening a lot with DRM is that people build these things in the game to try and stop pirates, but what they end up doing is they really make the players feel alienated. They really like kill the user experience for trying to stop piracy. They punish the people that are paying for the actions of the people that are not paying. And this can get pretty dangerous, right? Like, I remember there was I think it was Sims. Sims game launched or something like that. It might have been, I forget what game it was, but there was the servers were down on launch. Everybody was crazy. Everybody wanted to play the game, but they couldn't play the game because their copy couldn't contact the server, even though it was an offline game. Essentially, you didn't need to be online to play the game. You did need to be online to play the game, but the game didn't actually need that functionality. That was the functionality of the DRM, which is just a way of screwing over the people that play based on the actions of the people that don't play. And that can get pretty dangerous, right? But I actually like to take a different approach to DRM. And this doesn't work for all games, but I think one of the most effective ways that I've seen to combat DRM is the whole free-to-play model, right? So, and obviously this works better on mobile than it does for, PC games, but with a free-to-play game that is monetizable in other ways, free-to-play or, freemium or anything like that, where the monetization is built into the base of the game, can work really well with piracy, because then what happens is you have your monetization built in the game, so it doesn't matter how they get the game, whether they pirate it, whether they download it from App Store, however they do it, you have your monetization built in there. And what happens at that point is that a lot of the pirates turn into customers. Now, of course, this is all theoretical, because I've never actually done this. I've worked with people that have done it, and we've seen moderate success, but I don't have any data to show you guys. I don't have anything to back up those claims. It's just opinion. But if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, the reason why people get upset about people pirating their game is usually because it costs money to buy the game. But if there are monetization effects inside the game, that can help you monetize the game from other pirates. Another thing that you can do is kind of along the same lines, is really think about piracy. Think about it as a legitimate thing that's going to happen. Obviously, it's not a legitimate thing. It's an illegitimate thing. It's an illegal thing, but it happens. And if you consider this when you're building the game, there are a lot of little things that you can build into it. There have been games in the past that have done really sneaky things. Like, some games have different dialogue options if you're pirating the game. Some games do really annoying things if you pirate the game. I'm not sure that's the best approach. I know definitely people have gotten some press out of it. So if that's your goal, for something quirky and weird, or a way to tell pirates from non-pirates, right? Like, if someone says, hey, did you see that one scene where this guy said this? And you're like, what? Oh, that's in the pirated version. They're pirates. So it's kind of cool in that regard, but piracy is a legitimate problem. I think it's always going to be a legitimate problem. It's always going to be an issue. People are always going to download it, and as advanced as DRM and Steam and all these places get at protecting their assets, the hackers, on the other hand, get twice as literate, twice as fast, and they're always playing a game of catch up against the people that crack stuff. So it's definitely something to consider. It's definitely something to think about. I would consider it in your launch plan, in your development, in your monetization methods. Consider how that's going to work, and consider that if someone does get your game free, is there still a way for you to gain something from it? Can you still direct them to a website? Can you still, can they populate a player base for you to help your multiplayer game? Can you monetize them in some way? You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be something. There's got to be some way where you can benefit from it. So I would just think about that, and maybe stray away from some of the stuff that impacts the user experience in a negative way, because really nobody likes to, especially if you're going to pay money for something, you don't want to have your experience be a shitty experience just because you're trying to stop the other guys that didn't pay. So those are my thoughts on piracy. I hope it helped you guys out. If it did, please leave me a comment below. Please leave me your thoughts on piracy, on whether it's a big problem, on what you're doing to combat piracy, or whether or not you think it's even an issue. And I would love to start a discussion on this. But once again, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I will see you tomorrow.